Can you not? Get our mics on. There we go. I can hear that much better. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for coming out. It's 6 o'clock, and we don't have a youngster tonight, so I will call the meeting to order. And with that, let's call the roll.
Matthews.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Flood.
Here.
Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seaborn.
Here.
Richter.
Here.
We have one.
Thank you, ma'am. Would you like to do invocation?
Will you pray with me? Father, we thank you for today, and we thank you for the just unbelievable response, God, that has been in our community over the last few weeks. God, how that everybody has showed up and continued to love and care for each other, God, and focus just on the act of healing. God, I pray that as we continue to make decisions here, God, that you help us make the decisions that not only help us to recover and move forward, God, but help us to continue to create a Shawnee that everybody feels loved and cared for. God, it's through your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. If you'll join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 1 is recognition of the City of Shawnee emergency response personnel, community partners, and volunteers, and I'm going to come down front as we do this. First, I'm going to read a little bit of a statement here, so bear with me. It's quite long, but very well deserved. On April 19, 2023, an EF2 tornado hit Shawnee and the surrounding community. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, city staff responded without delay by beginning search and rescue operations, road clearing, and hazard mitigation. The city was inundated with assistance from all over the state in these efforts right away. A big thank you to our Emergency Management Director, Rochelle Erickson, for all her efforts through this event. The level of support that our community has seen has been overwhelming, and that support has been very evident from the very beginning. In times like this, recovery can feel distant, but that feeling starts to fade away when you see a community rally together like Shawnee has. Seeing neighbor helping neighbor, people and organizations flooding in from the surrounding areas, the business community rallying together for support, and other agencies stepping in to provide aid, and individuals doing whatever they can to help. Seeing all this makes me truly grateful for our community and all those who have stood with us. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, many organizations, agencies, and people stepped in to help with the emergency response, and we want to recognize them this evening. I would like to give a special thanks to all the City of Shawnee employees who have worked tirelessly since the storm, including Shawnee Emergency Management, Shawnee Police and Fire Departments, Shawnee Public Works, Shawnee Engineering and Map Services, and all other city departments that have helped with countless hours of work to support each other in the community. I'd be remiss if I didn't specifically call out all the partner entities that came to the city's aid. This is a long list, and we're very grateful. Pottawatomie County Emergency Management, Citizen Pottawatomie Nation and their emergency management, Absentee Shawnee Tribe and their emergency management, Choctaw Nation Tribe and their emergency management, Sac and Fox Nation, SSM Health St. Anthony Emergency Management, REACT, Seminole County Emergency Management, Tecumseh Emergency Management, Maud Emergency Management, McLeod Emergency Management, State of Oklahoma Emergency Management, FEMA, Rick Smith and all the National Weather Service in Norman, OK Task Force 1 OHP, OK Task Force Tulsa Fire Department, City of Seminole and Seminole County Fire Departments, Seminole County District Barnes, Pottawatomie County Health Department, Shawnee Public School System, Gordon Cooper Technology Center, American Red Cross, Salvation Army, Emily Tate and everyone at OG&E. Thank you, Emily. O.J. Price and Shawnee Lowe's, Terry Haskell at Haskell Lemons, Community Renewal, Oklahoma Baptist University, Avitas Foundation, Legacy Parenting, South Central Industries, Life Church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, Northridge Church of Christ, United Way, countless other organizations, agencies, and volunteers that we do not even know about. If you have helped us, thank you. Truly, we want to know and thank everyone who has stepped up to help Shawnee. So please reach out, let us know so that we can extend our gratitude to you. I would also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who is now beginning the task of pulling Shawnee on the road to recovery. The road may be long, but is better with partners like you at our side. Thank you very much. I'm going to come down front, and we've got a stack of recognitions that we're going to pass out. So I will get down there, and we will get started. Okay, let's start with community renewal. So I know Brandon's here, so is there anyone else in community renewal that would like to? No? You want to come down?
Yes, sir.
You got someone here to take your picture up here? Someone does.
One, two, three. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next one I got for United Way. You know, and I didn't even think I need to read this thing. Certificate of recognition on the 15th day of May, 2023. And this one is to United Way. We're going to have a bunch more. On behalf of the City of Shawnee, to acknowledge the selfless dedication and commitment to serving our community after the significant damage caused by the April 19, 2023 tornado. So, you want to come on up, Sandy? You got, I guess, you got a picture there. Cheyenne is going to be photographer. There you go. Thank you. Okay, this one is for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. We have some sit there. We go. How are you? Isn't that? I'm good. You got any more you want to bring up here? The one Mary. I know you brought it. Thank you, sir, for everything. Next one is with the American Red Cross. Oh, there she is, Lori. Lori, you got someone to take a picture for you? You can get your. Okay, come right down to close. You're gonna get one, let's get a good one, right? There we go. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. This one is for the Avitas Foundation. And I know I've seen some of their folks do this. Oh, no, Cheyenne. Come on. Yeah, Cheyenne, you can. There you go. Okay, this one is Shawnee Engineering Department. You guys want to take your picture?
I'm not that
Thank you so much. All right, this one is Shawnee Police Department. I know I saw the chief up there. You bring them all in. Yeah, so thankful for you guys. I'm just gonna do a photograph for you. And this one is for Shawnee Fire Department. I think I saw Chief back there and these guys. Somebody get a photo for Chief. Okay, Shawnee Public Works. Oh, there we go. See that jump right up here? Come on up here, more than merry. You want to hang on to that side? Sure. There we go. Okay, so we have for the city and the county emergency management. So do you have one of these, or is this? So we have some from city and county emergency management. Here we go. Come on up here. Got it. All right, very good. Thank you, guys. Okay, very good. Thank you again to all of you. Andre and I were in a meeting today at noontime, and that was one of the things we heard, because, you know, we don't get to rehearse something like this, but when it happened, everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody knew what they were doing. Just did an amazing job. So, thank you very, very much. Okay, item 2, well, that's hot. Citizen participation, same rules as always. We're going to do 3 minutes per person, 12 minutes per subject. And Joe's going to keep time for us. So nothing's changed on rules. So first person that has signed in is LaDonna Jones-Bryce. So, LaDonna, the floor is all yours. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
I have a couple of questions. Are we getting a new parks director? Has his resignation been turned in? Because his house is for sale And according to his wife's Facebook, they are relocating to St. Louis. And then that's my first question. And then my second question is the Proposition 4 that is on the ballot for next month is to amend the city charter to allow its employees to live outside the city limits of Shawnee. So should it not pass, is he still going to stay as an parks director? Or is he leaving? Or what's the plan? Do we have one? Or is this proposition just got thrown on the ballot next month to try to correct this problem or this issue? So those are legitimate questions, and they really deserve an answer. So I know that you're not going to just sit here and answer me back, and you probably are not even going to answer at the end of the meeting. But I'd really like to know what the status is. Are we going to be getting a new parks director? Or are you just hoping and really praying that that proposition passes next month? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Fred Turner. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. Good evening. One thing could we get a better microphone holder here? We have a $25 million budget. Something better than have this thing right here. It'd make it a little easier. You can't, if you have some things to put down, you don't have any room. But anyway, I have a question, some comments about, I've looked over the survey that was in the information that was, I guess, on the agenda. Of course, that all was 735 pages. Y'all must have been busy reading all that. But I noticed that on the survey, it was about, there's 430 citizens responded, something like that. Well, 2/3, 65%, said they didn't think they were getting their money worth from the city of Shawnee. The other one said, the preponderance of the respondents said we were really concerned about safety. They wanted to see a little more effort on safety. There also was a question in there that said they had the streets and the sidewalks together. I think that's a very misleading question. I think that maybe one reason we spend so much money on sidewalks is because it comes up as a high rating when the streets are really separate issues than the sidewalks. So I think that should really be reviewed, because I think a lot more people use the streets than use the sidewalks. The other thing I noticed, and now I want to talk a little bit about the budget. Of course, the budget is public budgets are a little difficult to understand, but in the budget, some of the wording, I don't have any time left, but some of the wording is very nebulous. Even if this budget is passed, the city can change it or rearrange funds any way they want to, as long as it's legally spent. Now, a lot of things are legal, but I think that brings us back to the question we had several years ago about what happened to the $7 million. I'm sure it was legally spent, but we never did find out really where it went. So even if this budget is approved, it really has very little control over how you spend the citizens' money. Also, there's a category called transfer in, transfer out, which is a little hard to follow, but it looks like there's like $11 million that comes in from the COVID money or somewhere. And it was very hard to figure out where that money was going to be spent. But if you add that to our tax base, well, the spending is going to be up like 323% for the next budget. Now,
Mr. Turner, your time is up.
that's, I know, that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
You have a
thank
good
you.
evening. Next up is Edwin Butler Wolf, and one if you give him just a second. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I wanted to thank you for recognizing the tribes that came in to help, because sometimes they get overlooked. But I wanted to come tonight to make a comment about homeless. Seems like that's the only thing that I come up here and complain about is the homeless situation here in Shawnee. And I really didn't really know really exactly how I would feel if I seen a homeless do some actions, because I hear it every time I come and listen to you on the television and stuff, but to actually see it myself, it's really disturbing. And I really think that the 7 of y'all up there should really take this issue into your hands, because a couple of weeks ago I went to work out at a gym and pulled up there, and a homeless person was standing out in front of the gym parking lot and screaming and yelling, and I was really kind of afraid to get out of my vehicle to go in and do my workout. And then he did some gestures, just screaming and just some dirty things there. But I proceeded to go in, and the door was unlocked at the gym because of the tornado that went through. There was some kind of stuff going, troubles with the key lock. So, but I was really afraid of this person. Was standing out in front of the facility and trying to wave cars down on the very busy street. And so I did call the police, and they did come out. 3 vehicles came out and just talked to the person. And then, but they let him stay out there. But then one police officer sat across the parking lot across the gym, and then he did it again. He was out there waving his hands, screaming at everybody. So he proceeded to come over and I guess told him to leave the premises. So the homeless man walked down the street, sat on another corner. But, if it was me that did that, I probably would have been dropped to the ground and choked or whatever. But, we've got to do something. You've got to do something. And then I proceeded last week to go walk on the airport track, and again, seeing another homeless man out there urinating out there in the public. So I feel for the businesses downtown that live downtown and have their businesses, because to see that out and west of town and migrating out that way, that is a problem. And the weather's going to get nicer, and they'll probably be out more, venturing out.
That's 3 minutes, Ms. Bell.
But,
Your
but
time has
I just
expired.
wanted to let you know that.
Thank you so much. Next up is Casey Bell. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, I just want to take this opportunity and just come up and tell you thank you for your leadership after the tornadoes of April 19th. You guys displayed tremendous leadership, tremendous thoroughness in how you responded and how city staff responded and how you rallied volunteers. I want to say thank you, Commissioner Flood. I was over east of our bank on Kickapoo, and I had been cutting trees all day, and I had pulled out and getting ready to go home, and an elderly person had tacked up on her tree. It said, "Old lady, please help." She was tacking it up, and she had a handsaw, and she had a tree that was bigger than this room. And I thought, I can't leave her. And I was extremely tired. And I called Travis Flood. Travis Flood was there in about 8 minutes. And Travis and I proceeded to saw that tree up for the next 3 hours. And the reason I wanted to come up and say something tonight is you guys are volunteers. It's not, you don't get paid very much to be up there. And I want to say to you thank you for your leadership. I want to say thank you for your thoroughness in making sure that you're weighing all decisions on the behalf of those in Shawnee. You're not going to make all 33,000 of us happy. It's just not going to happen. Continue to stay grounded. Continue to look beyond yourself into that next generation as to what we're going to build for this community, and just continue to do what you're doing and continue to fight the good fight. And when this community needs our leadership to rally, you have proven that you've rallied. I can look at each and every one of you for the most part and know that the days after April 19th, I worked hand in hand with each one of you in our communities, in places that we didn't know, but we had to do it. I would encourage us to continue to do it. But you guys are right there with me, and I know that you were there with countless other citizens. And so that, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Teresa Cody. How are you this evening?
Just fine, thank you. First of all, let me get this thing adjusted. First, I would like to thank all of you for putting the ward voting on the ballot. I know you voted all 7-0 to put that Proposition 1 on the ballot. Proposition 1 will finally give the citizens the choice about who represents their ward. Each ward will finally have the opportunity for equal representation. If this passes, a ward where wealthier people live will not have an advantage over other less affluent wards. So thank you for putting this on the ballot and allowing us to vote yes for ward-specific voting June 13th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next up would be Brie. Is it Terry?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it was Terry or Teddy, but how are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
In light of recent legal developments between the city and its concerned citizens, I would like to ask for clarification on the accountability process that has to be in place to keep both parties accountable for good conduct. As a country designed with checks and balances in place, the pendulum has to swing both ways, which means if the city can sue a citizen to uphold proper conduct, the citizens in turn should have equal recourse to hold city officials accountable to their responsibilities and conduct as representatives of this city. I recognize that no one could possibly have the whole ordinance memorized, and much of the citizens' comments section of our meeting can be used to bring these offenses to light, and we might even expect redirection as a result, up to and including disciplinary action if called for. An example might be if a commissioner uses foul language at a citizen, I would classify that as conduct unbecoming of a city officer and would hope that would be addressed to prevent such behavior from reoccurring. But if it did, what then? Who do we alert to make sure everyone is being held to equal forms of conduct, since no one is above the law? I hope you can understand that any answers that direct us towards the very entities that have created the offenses is unacceptable. There has to be a higher power beyond the voting booth to keep officers accountable. Where and how do we go about conducting such entities? And if the answer is that those entities do not exist, then we need to have a very serious conversation about that going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Stay salty, Shawnee.
Next up is Mr. Rick Young. How are you doing, Rick?
Good evening. In high school, we didn't have a shot clock, but I know we have 3 minutes here. Yeah. Let me say this. I want to buttress what Casey Bell said to the House tonight, and I buttress that with what has been done up to this time. One of the things that has been is, let me back up a little bit. Before I go any further, I do want to give honor and respect to a former commissioner who was also vice mayor in a public service of 12 years, Ward 3, and his family, and that is for James Harris. And in his loss to his family, I want to recognize him because he did serve 3rd Ward, in which I live. I also want to thank all the volunteers locally, city staff, subordinates, national and international workers who came to our community to help Shawnee America get back together after April 19th tornado. You know, a lot of times in that type of situation, I've been a part of probably 3, a couple of F5s, had one where I lost my gym, the school, and we were unfortunate that we did things in other places, so I'm very familiar with that. I want to appreciate and thank you guys for having the wherewithal to bring forth the ward voting. I do know there's some other stuff that was put in there because at the same time, when you get a chance to do other things, you slide some things that you can do. I've talked to many citizens and they say, well, can you explain where a 10-year-old or a 10th grader and student council could explain what in the world is going on with ward voting and why do we have 6 other things that's put into the package. When I first got here, I was part of the $47 million situation that Shawnee had, which was proposition, and we stuck with a whole lot of stuff, but there were taxes that were involved, and we whiffed on everything. We got some private money and did the splash park, and we find ourselves back in that same situation. So I'm going to try to hear in a short period of time before my time runs out. It's like a student council. If you've been a part of a student council, I'm a 12th grader. There's 11th grade representative, a 10th grade representative, a 9th grade representative. As a 12th grader, because I'm dating a 9th grader, she doesn't know a whole lot, so I'm going to pick the 9th grade representative. Then at the same time, we'll go down and we'll pick the 10th grade representative and the 11th grade representative so we can control the whole thing. Now that might not sound like what's happening, but at the same time, when you dial back 30,000 degrees, 30,000 feet, and you look down, you kind of see some of those things. So when you have people come to the mic and they're talking about representation, true representation, we have a mayor commissioner council with 6 wards. This young lady is Ward 6, and she probably has one of the worst wards that was wrecked, and I know she's been out in the community talking to people, and they've expressed to her there are certain things that she needs to know about. If somebody's over here in Ward 1 who's not know what's going on in Ward 6, it's her responsibility to report back to the whole, this is what's going on in Ward 1 and 6 and what's in Ward 3. I know what this young man and the Brandon did for Ward 3.
That's 3 minutes, Mr.
Yeah,
That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
thank you.
We'll address it social media.
All righty, thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Okay. Item 3, we'll consider approval of consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull off consent agenda? If not, we would entertain a motion.
I don't know exactly what to say, but since I wasn't here for like the special April 27th meeting, and I shouldn't vote on those minutes, how do I ask for that to be taken out and voted separately?
You just did.
Is that how you
just
do it?
asked to-
Okay, I
to
didn't know
have
if there
that
was a
pulled
special.
out. So, let's see, that'd be 3B, I believe. Is there anything that anyone else would like pulled out of the consent agenda? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. We approve item 3 with item B removed.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
And Darren. Okay, so we will get my computer to wake back up. There we go. Apologize for the delay. So the motion was that we approve everything under 3 with the exception of 3B. So we will call that question.
I didn't get it.
It's my turn tonight. I'll vote
Oh,
yes.
no. We almost had it.
No, I mean, I'm there. It just didn't pop up. Yes.
Okay, let's see. Motion passes 6 in favor with 1 abstention. So now we need to move on to item 3B. Do we have a,
That's okay.
do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve item 3B.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 3B. We'll call the question. Oh, well, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. We're good. There it is.
It's,
I did.
I did?
I did.
Yep.
mine already had a vote. Like it had my last vote, like last used vote. Like it showed, well, that's what it told me I could do it with. Let me press. I mean, I am, yeah, but. Yeah, because I realize my mistake now.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
It's been a long day.
And that motion also passes 6 in favor and 1 abstention. Item 4, presentation of Pet of the Month by Animal Control. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, I'm glad you. So before we do that, I'm going to invite anyone that would like to witness the bid opening to follow Seth. He's about to go out the door. And so you're welcome to go follow him and witness that. Now we'd be happy to see our pet of the week. Pet of the month, I guess it is now, isn't it?
This is our marvelous Mud of the Month. I'm a volunteer with the Shawnee Animal Shelter, and I brought Sweet Pea tonight. She's a little 1-year-old terrier. Her sister got adopted today, so she's going to be looking for a home too. In the last 3 weeks, we've had 11 adoptions. We've had 8 that were reclaimed by their owners. And we also were able to put 6 animals back, matching up owners and finders. So it's been a really good 3 weeks for us.
That's great.
And I want to invite everyone. May 31st is going to be Health Week. It's Bark in the Park. We had it last year and it was a lot of fun. I hope we have a couple of doodles this year again. So if you do want to come join us, just grab a leash, bring your dog. If you don't have one, that's not a problem. We can pick you up with one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 5, we've got some mayor's proclamations. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So I will come down and we will get those done. Okay, first one's going to be for National Police Week. And I bet we have someone from the police department that come up and represent. You guys again. Yes. All right. We've got a proclamation here for National Police Week. Whereas in 1962, United States President John F. Kennedy signed the first proclamation designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Police Week to remember and honor the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers throughout our nation. Whereas it is paramount for our community to understand the important role and responsibility our federal, state, county, local, and tribal police departments play in maintaining public safety and recognizing the importance of cooperation with them is crucial for delivering effective law and order. And whereas the community acknowledges our law enforcement officers' steadfast work each day to guard and protect the life, property, and freedoms of women, men, and children of our community. And whereas we recognize the sacrifice made by our law enforcement officers and their families to serve our community in the highest regard with courage and dedication as they encounter unknown and dangerous situations day and night for the peace and safety of our community. And whereas in honor of the courageous men and women, both past and present, who have served with commitment, dedication, devotion, and endless hours throughout each year, and we applaud each of you for your service to our community and ultimately to our nation. Now therefore, I, Ed Wolf, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15 through May 21st, 2023 to be National Police Week. So we cannot thank you guys enough for what you do for the community. And when you take those back with you, I think the city's going to want a picture of those, so you guys squeeze in. We also have one here from National Public Works. And we've got some folks from Public Works. Yeah, come on up, the more the merrier. There you go. You guys all come down. There we go. Good group. It's good to see you. All right, National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustain in resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of people of Shawnee, Oklahoma. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Shawnee to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And whereas the city of Shawnee urges all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make in protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Now therefore, I, Ed Wolf, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023, to be National Public Works Week. Very cool. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything you'd like to add, or?
Appreciate every single one of them and their hard work and dedication to the city.
Oh my gosh. Appreciate all you do. You good, sir? All right. You've got to get it. Squeeze in, squeeze in. Okay, so National Emergency Services Week, whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services team consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. And therefore, I, Ed Wolf, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023 to be National Emergency Services Week. And thank you so much. And as soon as he's going to get a photo, and it's something you'd like to say, the floor is yours.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate you. So we got Health Week, and we have some folks cheer for Health Week. You have to get somebody on the other side. Okay. You are tall. All right, Health Week 2023. Whereas the week of May 27th, June 3rd, 2023 is the annual Health Week, which celebrates healthy, fun, and fitness activities for the whole family throughout our community. And whereas the Vetus Foundation and its Health Week partners, Shawnee Parks and Recreation, Shawnee YMCA, Strong Her, Gateway to Prevention, Oklahoma Baptist University, Community Renewal, Citizen Potawatomi Nation, Potawatomi Go, and Shawnee Youth Coalition are committed to improving the health, wellness, and quality of life for the people of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, and its surrounding community. And whereas all our actions include good nutrition and physical activity, affect the health and well-being of our families, friends, and neighbors, and whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas eating more balanced meals and snacks can positively impact negative health outcomes for kids and their families, and whereas physical activity results in significant health benefits and improved quality of life for people of all ages, and whereas dedicating a week to wellness inspires lifelong patterns of healthy living and improves the quality of life in our community, and whereas the City of Shawnee encourages everyone who lives, works, and plays in Shawnee to participate in family-friendly activities through this citywide celebration of health and wellness of its community members. Therefore, I, Ed Holt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 27th through June 3rd, 2023 to be Health Week 2023. Very cool. So, I'm sure let's do our photo. And say put, because Susan wants to go with hers.
social media on the Health Week page. You can also go to the Avitas website. A really special speaker series event, which is the Tuesday after Memorial Day, that 30th, out at the Shawnee Expo. But you do need to register for that because lunch is provided. So go and register for that, and we'd love to have you all.
Thank you so much. Oh. That's one thing. No better than bring that down. Okay, item 6 is ratification of a declaration of the mayor of the city of Shawnee declaring an emergency within the city limits in such additional territory as may be described herein, authorizing the actions of the city manager pursuant to state laws and the municipal codes of the city of Shawnee. And our city manager is up. How are you, Andrea?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We are bringing this particular item to you for ratification. As you can imagine, we did not want to wait until the next City Commission meeting with an emergency declaration because the city's emergency declaration has to precede the state's emergency declaration, which had to precede the federal emergency declaration for us to be able to take advantage of the state and federal resources for the tornado that just tore through our town. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? I don't have a question, but I'm going to make a statement. And as I'm amazed how quickly this went through its process. I know Joe had this ready the next morning, probably before a lot of folks had breakfast. We had it signed at the city level. The governor was here the next day. He signed it the next day, and by Monday morning before 10 o'clock, President Biden had signed his portion of it, and I would never have guessed that things could have moved through levels of government that quickly.
That was a fast-tracked federal emergency declaration. That is correct.
It was amazingly fast. So, thank you very much. So so this is something that we need to, if no one has any discussion, we need a motion so we can vote on it.
Sir, I'd like to make a motion we approve item 6.
Thank you, sir. Travis and Darren. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 6. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 7 is presentation of 5-year capital improvement plan, and Ms. McNabb Fox, our finance director, has that for us. How are you tonight, Lindsay?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. On your podiums today, you'll find 2 books. The first book that we are going to be presenting tonight is the Capital Improvement Plan. It's a 5-year plan from fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 28. And let me get my notes out, sorry about that. So in the book, just to kind of walk you through, this was part of the agenda packet. There were a few errors that we found, just some editing that we had to do to the document. This final product is printed for you today. It's also uploaded on the city's website under the finance page that you'll find that. There's also a dashboard where citizens can go and look at an interactive map of all of these projects, and I'm gonna go over that briefly. But if you go, there is a table of contents. All of the projects are separated or divided out by fund, so what fund that they are being
funded through. And just the capital improvement plan policy is in the book. And then it just starts right into all of the different projects. As you may remember, on the city policy was adopted by the commission on December 19th. And it's to support the alignment with overall city goals and objectives regarding the physical and economic development of the community, preservation and renewal of its city assets in support of core services, consistent decision-making related to capital improvements, promotion of financial stability and long-term financial capacity to meet capital improvement needs, and effective communication of the city's priorities to the community at large. Over the last 5 months, we've been working on developing this plan to cover fiscal years 24 through 28, as well as an early look at years 29 through 33. This plan includes over 100 projects. In the first 5 years, the total projects cost is $161 million, and in years 6 through 10 is an estimate of $54 million. Some of these projects are ongoing from the past year, some are new, and some projects identified as future, which is in the 6 to 10 mark. In order for a project to be included into this plan, it has to be over $20,000 for equipment and vehicles and over $50,000 for all other project types. For the projects with the identified cost in the current or in the upcoming budget year, for the first year of the plan, those have been incorporated into the proposed 23-24 budget. As part of the CIP policy, this plan will be reviewed on an annual basis and adopted by the commission on a biannual basis. We will also be holding a public hearing on this plan on June 20th, and the plan will be formally adopted by the commission. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
You mentioned a dashboard on our website. Do you guys know how to get to that so that we can tell people?
Yes, it's part of the agenda. It's a hyperlink on the agenda. It's also on the finance department's webpage where I've got it linked on there as well that you can get to that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I think it's great that we have a long-term plan like this. So I guess we don't need to take any action on that. It was just a presentation. So if anybody, any questions or any other discussion, this would be the time. So seeing none, we'll move on. Item 8 is a public hearing for the City of Shawnee proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. And you're still up. It's all yours.
Yes, sir. So at the last commission meeting on April 17th, I introduced the proposed budget for 23-24. This evening, we're holding a public hearing on the budget. But first, I'd like to go over a few changes to the initial budget that was presented. The first change is to the capital portion. So as I previously stated, any of the projects that were included in that first year of the 5-year plan is now incorporated into this budget, as well as we had the opportunity to apply for a new grant for 2 new police officers. So those 2 new officers are also added to the budget. Another book that's on your podium is the fiscal year 24 proposed budget. This is also pretty much laid out the same way with an introduction section and the different funds and all of the details within each fund, a definition of what the fund is spent, what the revenue sources are for that fund. So a lot of information in here for people to look through, digest, and of course I know public budgeting is difficult to follow, but hopefully some answers can be made in this presentation, in this book, so.
Okay, any comment up here before we open the public hearing? Okay, is there anyone that would like to speak in regard to the proposed budget? Maybe, sir, if you come to the microphone, and you can take your time.
I didn't know it would come back up again.
Oh, that's
It
fine.
wasn't clear that was, well, I thought when you got to speak in public, you only got to speak at the first part of the meeting.
When we have a public hearing, we open it up for comment. So.
Well, I looked through the budget and of course, it's good to have a budget. But there's no balance sheet. There's no fund accounts that show how much money the city has in this fund, how much it has in the other fund. And if you look at the budget, funds come in, funds come out, and then also the wording on the budget, unless I could have read it wrong, but it said, we pass this budget. But if there's something we want to change in this budget, we can change it. We can change anything we want to. And I think probably the city attorney would agree with that. That's the way that the law lets the cities do that. And plus, I don't know how you tell what a budget is. Has any of the city commissioners looked at the balance sheet for the city? How much cash does the city have? Where is the cash? What accounts is it in? Any of you?
I don't think this is really intended to be a back and forth.
Oh, I know. It's not fair to ask a question like that. But anyway, I just think it's nice to have a budget, but when they can change any time, I think if any people that have been in Shawnee for a while, remember the last time we had a city budget that was changed without even telling anyone that we had $7 million it wasn't that it wasn't accounted for. They never could tell the citizens what it was spent for. It was spent, but they couldn't tell anybody what it was spent for. And they said that they would tell the citizens what it was spent for. The mayor at the time, Richard Finley, said he would tell what the money was spent for. Joe Vondran was the city attorney at the time. He said, no, we really don't have to do that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in regards to the budget? Anyone else? Seeing none, then we will close the public hearing. Any other discussion up here? So it's like budgets are a plan, and things do change throughout the course of the year depending on our income and so forth. Every month, Lindsay gives us a report on the balance of the city. The books are open and public for everybody to look at. So there's definitely nothing that's being hidden. So. Anyway, any other discussion up here? I might also point out one other thing, and this was brought to light with the storm and the emergency that we had. You know, the city has done well with its money. The expenses that we are having to go through for the cleanup, those big trucks that you see roaming around town, we had to pay for that up front. You know, we're going to get reimbursed by FEMA down the road, but, you know, because the city has done well managing their money, we've been able to pay for that. So, and that's not a small thing. There's a lot of communities in Oklahoma that would have a very difficult time doing that. So I think our staff and our commission has done a very good job in handling the city's finances. So, any other comments or questions? Or if not, then we will move on to item 9, which is consideration of a contract between the City of Shawnee and Teresa Nichols, Inc. for professional services regarding the Clear Pond Culvert Replacement Project. Mr. Barkheimer, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think you're all aware, but for context, in March of this year, we had a drainage structure collapse on Clear Pond Road, west of Highway 102 out at the lake. The culvert sits in a low-lying area and stays saturated for a good part of the year, especially of late with all the spring rain. It's the kind of the tailwater coming off the lake. Prior to the collapse, the culvert had been a maintenance hotspot for a couple of years with Public Works, dating back even longer than that. It had previously been replaced in-house by Public Works staff as recent as 2015 and had subsequent work orders with significant repairs in 18, 2020, and again in 2021. And that kind of excludes the surface repairs they've done on the street due to the settling of the structure. So with that context, staff would like to build it back in a more durable and robust way. For that effort, we have a proposal before you tonight, put together, like the mayor said, by Freeze and Nichols Inc. to do, basically put a bid package together. Part of that bid package would be the geotechnical work associated with making a recommendation on a structure that won't settle, any dewatering it would take to make the stabilization occur. Basically put a bid package together to build it the right way. Not doing corrugated metal pipe, but doing pier and RCB, reinforced concrete boxes, to put it back where hopefully we don't have to touch it again for another 50 years. So that contract is for $94,010, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Questions?
So that's my word, and I've gotten a lot of questions about it. You know about the lifespan of the new structure that we would.
Yeah,
well, I guess they have to present it first, but.
I mean, generally speaking, drainage structures like that, you're hoping for a design life of 50 years. You do it right, they can last much longer than that, right? I mean, we see that with our Main Street Bridge, right? That was put in place in the 30s, and right. I mean, they can last longer, but design life you would expect about 50 years. I think it's fair to say that 8 is a little bit short.
Yeah. The only question I've gotten is whether there should be like a bridge there instead of just a culvert.
Yeah, I mean, what's going back is the same thing that's going back as a bridge. I mean, a reinforced concrete box is what we're going back with. That's the exact same thing that to classify it as a bridge. It's really a nomenclature difference. When you get your span beyond 20 feet, it's considered a bridge. 19 feet, you're considered a culvert. It's the exact same thing. So if you want to call it a bridge, Mr. Mayor, you can call it a bridge, but it's the same thing.
It wasn't my question, but it was just from a constituent in town that asked that, and I thought it was a worthwhile question.
Do we save money if it's not a bridge?
Well, we do actually, because we don't do biannual inspections. But yeah, anyway.
Okay. Well, I'll relay
like to
that
call it
on
a culvert.
to her. Thank you very much for that explanation.
People out there are eager to get this started with the timeline we take about.
Right. Yeah, we stressed schedule when we were speaking with the consultant, and we're hoping to have this out to bid by the end of the year, which is very aggressive. So, and when I say by the end of the year, I think the schedule that's included in the proposal that's before you tonight showed a bid package going out in October. So,
okay, so calendar year then.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Cammie and Mark. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 9. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is consideration of the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. A is Fund 302, Street Improvement Fund, in the amount of $94,010 to fund a professional services agreement for the Clear Pond Culvert Replacement Project. Ms. McNabb Fox, it's all yours.
All right, so as you stated, this amendment is related to the previously approved item for the culvert, Clear Pond Road Culvert Project. The total budget amendment is $94,010 in the Street Improvement Fund and will be funded with sales tax revenues exceeding budget estimates for that fund.
Very good. Questions? So the only question I'll have, and I know the answer, but this would be a prime example of why budgets change during the course of the year. This
Yes,
is
sir.
something that was unforeseen, and budgets being a plan, they change from time to time, and this is how we deal with it, so.
Yes, and I will say that the construction of this project is included in your 5-year CIP plan.
Very good. Thank you so much for all of that. All righty, so how about a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve item 10.
Thank you, sir. Daniel and Travis. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 10. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 11, consideration and approval of an application for AmeriCorps Vista volunteers based in the Community Development Department. Mr. Harkins, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Ryan Harkins, Community Development Director. So this is an item that is a request for an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer to assist in the homeless program. They'll be helping primarily with case management duties that right now are consuming a lot of our homeless program coordinator's time. So this will be a position that would assist with that, as well as the other items listed in the staff report, helping continue the work that's already been done. And furthering that, we're bringing it to you with a recommendation of approval as a way to help provide additional staff in the program to deal with the issues and the caseload that we currently have. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve item 11.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Travis and Cammie. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 11. We'll call the question. Very good. Motion passes 7-0. Item 12 is a public hearing of a request to rezone from I-2 Light Industrial District to R1 Single Family Residential District to A1 Rural Agricultural District on property located at 1804 West Dewey Street. Case number RZ06-23. Applicant is Larry LeRae. And this was deferred from the April 17, 2023 commission meeting. Applicant withdrew the application. So Mr. Harkins, you are up again, sir.
That's correct. The applicant, prior to the planning commission hearing this item, requested a withdrawal of the item. So since we've already advertised, it had to stay on the agenda, but it's just on as a housekeeping item this time.
Okay, so there's really nothing we need to take
No action
on. Very good, thank you, sir. Item 13 is also a public hearing of a request to rezone from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial District on property located at 1320 North Harrison Avenue. Case number RZ04-23. Applicant is Nathan Ferguson. And you're up again, Mr. Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a strip of property zoned commercial. The request is to go from C3 to C3 from C1 on North Harrison. You'll notice Planning Commission's recommendation is to approve the item as presented. The area around this is a mix of C1 and C3, so it is a natural extension of that zoning district. Staff would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions while we have Ryan? No, don't think so. Okay, then what we will do is we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? Want to speak? No? Seeing none, then we'll ask if anyone would like to speak in opposition. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any other discussion up here? If not, how about a motion?
Move to approve item 13.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, there's no motion on this one, it's just a public hearing.
Oh, 14 is the, okay, there we go. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
We always had it together.
All righty, so we'll just go to 14 then. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial District on property located at 1320 North Harrison Avenue, case number RZ04-23. Applicant is Nathan Ferguson. Mr. Harkins, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Any more discussion up here?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion we approve item 14.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Attorney, you are up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, to wit, lots 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, Block 36, Beverly Hills addition to the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, less than accept a tract described beginning at the southeast corner of Block 25, thence west 20 feet, thence north 44 degrees 51 minutes east, a distance of 28.80 feet to a point on the east line of said lot, then south 20 feet to the point of beginning from zoning classification C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any other discussion up here? We've got a motion and a second for approval. We will call the question then.
Mine's not working anymore. Yes. I'm just logged out totally now. I can't get back in.
You can't walk back
And motion.
It's just giving me an error.
Motion passes 7-0. Do you want to deal with that, or do you want to? Okay, then we'll just move on then. Item 15 is a public hearing of a request to rezone from A1 Rural Agricultural District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District on property located at 15301 Highway 102. Case number is RZ07-23, applicant Greg White. Mr. Harkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a zoning request to go from A1, which is the ag, to C1. This is a request over on around the lake area. The request is essentially a rezoning request in order to do a new sign, which to get to the sign, type of sign they need would need to be in the C1 at a minimum. Hence the request. They were looking at an electronic reader board type of sign, and per code it has to be at least in that zoning district. Staff reviewed the item, Planning Commission reviewed the item, and their request was deemed to be appropriate, and the recommendation of Planning Commission to staff is to approve the item. Any
Okay.
questions I can answer, I'd be happy
Any
to.
questions? Don't see any. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this proposition? How are you, sir?
Good, how are you? Thank you, sir.
If you'll identify yourself to the city clerk.
I'm Brad Davison. I'm the preaching minister at the Lakeview Church of Christ, the subject property in question.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to voice my support for the proposal.
Very good. Anything else?
Just open for any questions. that's all.
Any questions for the gentleman while he's here? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to item 16. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone from A1 Rural Agriculture District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District on property located at 15301 Highway 102. Case number RZ07-23. Applicant is Greg White. Mr. Harkins, do you have anything to add? Yes. Thank you so much. Any other discussion up here? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am. Cammie and Travis. And Joe, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 13, Township 10 North, Range 2 East of the Indian Meridian, in Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, described as follows. Beginning at the southwest corner of said southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 13, thence east 592.5 feet, thence north 378 feet, thence west 607 feet to a point on the west line of said southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, then south 0 degrees 45 minutes east along said west line, a distance of 378.4 feet to the point of beginning. The tract contains 5.2 acres, more or less. The west 50 feet of the above described property is reserved for highway number 102 right-of-way. Also a tract of land described as beginning at a point 378.4 feet north of the southwest corner of the northwest quarter of Section 13, Township 10 North, Range 2 East of the Indian Meridian, thence east 608.76 feet, thence north 357.78 feet, thence west 608.76 feet, then south 357.78 feet to the point of beginning, containing 5.0 acres more or less, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, from zoning classification A1 Rural Agricultural District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. We'll call the question. And motion passes 7-0. Item 17 is consideration of a request for a preliminary plat at Shawnee Twin Lakes, Lake number 2, of approximately 1,754.59 acres. Case number PPL 03-23. The applicant is the city of Shawnee. Mr. Harkins, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. As noted in the staff report, this is a preliminary plat request for Shawnee Twin Lakes, Lake number 2. This is similar to what we did for Lake 1, a preliminary plat for the boundary of the lake area only. And I want to emphasize just the boundary. Planning Commission and staff reviewed the items. Their recommendation is approval, and we would note that no public hearing is needed for the plat.
Very good. Any questions? No questions. How about a motion?
Move to approve the item.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Cammie. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 17. We'll call that question. I have haven't seen it pop up yet. No, ma'am, I do not. I vote yes. And motion passes 7-0. Item 18, consideration of a request for the final plat, Shawnee Twin Lakes, Lake Number 2, of approximately 1,754.59 acres. Case number FPL 03-23, applicant is the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma. Mr. Harkins, one more time.
Thank you, sir. As similar to the preliminary plat, this is for the boundary of Lake 2. Planning Commission recommended approval. Staff's recommendation is approval as well.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? If not, we'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am. Tammy and Travis. We have a motion and a second, and we will call the question. I did not.
Screen just went black.
Yes. And motion passes 7-0. Item 19 is consider bids. For A is demolition and clearing of 623 Kickapoo Spur, the Cinderella Hotel. And we have the opening results.
Thanks, sir.
Sir.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, so as you said, this is the bid opening for the demolition and clearing of 623 Kickapoo Spur, or the Cinderella Hotel. If you'll recall, the structure had a structure fire a couple months back and was partially collapsed at that point in time. It's since then gone through the abatement process, and we're opening bids here tonight for the demolition. We had 6 bidders, as you can see in front of you. The first bid being from Viet National. A base bid of $449,978. Ad alternate number 1 for them was $221,976. Bidder number 2 is K&M Dirt Services LLC out of Oklahoma City. Their base bid was $363,000 with an alternate number 1 of $183,400. DT Specialized Services Inc. is the third bidder out of Catoosa, Oklahoma. Their base bid was $379,900. Alternate number 1 was $107,500. Bidder number 4 was Total Demolition Services LLC out of Oklahoma City. Their base bid was $424,303, with alternate number 1 being $239,275. Bidder number 5 was Midwest Wrecking Company Demolition out of Oklahoma City. Their base bid is $294,220. Alternate number 1, $79,210. And last but not least, American Demolition out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Their base bid was $734,084. Alternate number 1 being $128,594. So at this time, staff would request deferral so we can review the bid tabulation and make an educated recommendation.
good. How about a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to defer.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Travis and Darren. We have a motion and a second to defer item 19. We'll call the question.
Mayor Bolt,
Yes.
I said yes, but I will say yes again.
just popped up.
There we go. Motion passes 7-0. Item 20, we'll acknowledge the monthly sales tax report. So, Lindsay, it's your turn again.
Yes, sir. All right, so sales tax collection for May totaled $2,332,203.91, which includes $2,200 in interest. This is distributed across 7 funds with $1.33 million to the general fund. These collections are 14% over budget projections for the month, but a slight decline over May of last year by only $7,000. Year to date, we are 13.8% ahead of budget and 5.5% over this same time last year. Use tax for May totaled $347,545, which is a 27% increase from May of last year and is the second highest use tax collection to date. Year-to-date collections are 11.3% above this same time last year, and we are 6.9% above budget projections for the year. The general fund is currently $1.9 million above budget projections when you combine sales and use tax. We've appropriated approximately $1.67 million of that, leaving a balance unappropriated of $244,000. So, any questions?
Questions? Questions at all? None, I guess. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Item 21 is administrative reports. Looks like we have 1, 2. Andrea is up first with the Shawnee Community Survey, which it's all yours.
Thank you so much. I apologize ahead of time. This is a somewhat lengthy presentation, but I hope you will find it very worthwhile. As you may remember from previous administrative reports, the City of Shawnee commissioned this particular survey to gather direct and quantifiable information from our citizens on significant concerns. We needed this statistically valid survey so we can start working on our strategic plan, because we wanted to make sure that we didn't just receive citizen feedback, but that it was representative of the entire community. For that very purpose, we hired a subject matter expert in this particular field. ETC Institute out of Kansas was founded in 1982. They have been doing these types of surveys since that time, and community surveys particularly are a major area of emphasis for them. This type of survey is often used for the evaluation of strategic planning efforts. It can also be used for customer satisfaction, community development, voter opinion, parks and recreation planning, and other items. And as you can see on that map, we are not the first stop for ETC. They have done this many times all throughout the nation. This evening, I will be talking to you about the purpose and the methodology of the community survey, the bottom line up front, and we will also summarize it again at the very end. Major findings, I will not step us through all 150 some pages of the community survey itself. And of course, at the very end, we will have some time for questions. What was also included in your agenda package is the entire community survey report itself, which of course has the instrument that was sent out to each one of the households, and it shows many of the tables and all of the major findings. Again, the very purpose of this particular community survey was to more closely align with community needs and aspirations and to address potential performance gaps. We really needed to get feedback on our citizen satisfaction with core city services. We wanted to see how we compare with the nation and with our neighboring state to the south, and then what do we need to do in terms of additional future investments in those areas where we're currently lagging in performance in comparison to others. The methodology that was used, staff designed the 7-page survey that fed into this community survey with the help of ETC. It really was designed to elicit that detailed feedback we need, and then also give citizens the opportunity to rank different core services in different departments against one another, because it's very difficult when you ask detailed questions, but you're not asking about what about water service and streets in the same question. You will never get to that relative ranking otherwise. The surveys were mailed to randomly selected households. The households then could choose to complete the survey online rather than use the paper form. The goal in order to reach statistical validity was 400 responses. We received 431. We are sitting at a 95% level of confidence, plus minus 4.7% in either direction. So a very strong result. Responses from households not included in the original sample were only accounted for in the open-ended questions. Before we get into the more nuanced responses on this, the cross-departmental priorities and detailed evaluations, let me just give you the big takeaways at the very beginning. In general, a significant portion of the citizens think the city of Shawnee is either an average, a good, or an excellent city to live, and 3/4 of the households have no major concerns with the quality of life in Shawnee. In terms of public safety services, Shawnee actually ranks higher than the nation and Texas. However, as you can imagine, there are also other findings that say we are not doing so good, and the citizens specifically asked that the city address homelessness, that we improve the water and sewer system, and that we address roadways and sidewalks, traffic congestion, and that we enforce the local codes we have in order to improve our overall community appearance. As we delve deeper into the detailed survey results, I would like to bring to your attention that we have a significant proportion of Shawnee residents who perceive city services and performance as neither negative nor positive. So as you're looking at the graphs on the following slides, that would be the large gray section in the middle. Between 70 and 80% of respondents find the city to be an average, good, or excellent place to live, work, raise their family, retire, and call home. 46%, however, do not believe that the city is a good place to visit, and just over 1/3 of households say that the city is currently not moving in the right direction. In the next slide, you see that the direct comparison of major core services, quality of fire services receives very high marks, followed by police and emergency preparedness. Approximately 3/4 of households find sanitation services, parks, recreation programs, and overall customer service to be average or satisfactory. And then looking at the highest marks of dissatisfaction, the survey indicates that citizens would like us to see take better care of our streets, manage our traffic congestion better, and increase code enforcement, and also improve water and sewer services. Less than 1/3 of citizens are dissatisfied with their quality of life, city leadership, and overall government services. Citizens are slightly more dissatisfied with how the city plans for growth and the perceived value for their taxes and fees. And I know that we heard about that during the public participation portion. The highest dissatisfaction ratings are elicited by the overall appearance of the city as well as its reputation. Across all public engagement questions, less than 1/3 of citizens are satisfied with the quality and timeliness of city efforts designed to keep citizens informed and involved in their local government decisions. Here, the highest dissatisfaction ratings came from a perceived lack of info on local issues and the level of public involvement in direct decision-making. Of course, as you can imagine, there are many more tables like that. I just wanted to pull those out as the most important. Moving on to major finding number 2, we compare, in most cases, not so well to our neighbor to the south and not so well to the nation as a whole. There are a couple of exceptions to that. And emergency preparedness would be the first. And I know that we had a lot of talks about emergency preparedness. That is something we do exceptionally well. We do it better than the nation. We do it better than Texas. But it's about the only thing that we do better. On average, top for emergency preparedness, we are considerably higher than Texas and considerably higher than the nation. What is shown is, of course, the city of Shawnee in blue, the state of Texas in red, and then the U.S. itself is shown in this yellowy cream color. Average grades are received for sanitation services and customer service. We do, however, rank comparatively low to Texas and the U.S. in terms of quality of parks, recreation programs, water and sewer services, code enforcement, traffic congestion, and particularly maintenance of streets and sidewalks. Compared to Texas and the U.S., Shawnee Police Department ranks higher on their emergency response and overall police protection. Police is on par with traffic law enforcement and safety awareness. Police is only slightly behind on visibility in commercial and retail areas. Police Department also received significantly lower scores in neighborhood visibility, crime prevention, and particularly the quality of animal control services. Compared to Texas and the U.S., Shawnee's fire department ranked higher across all categories. Looking at streets and traffic, a benchmark comparison shows that Shawnee streets and traffic divisions rate considerably lower than those of Texas communities and nationwide communities. In the following categories, less than half of the comparable satisfaction ratings were reached, and those are adequacy of street lights, cleanliness of streets and other public places, and sidewalk condition in neighborhoods. So again, not even half of the satisfaction ratings in our comparison benchmarks. Satisfaction with trash services and water and sewer utilities. Shawnee's trash collection and bulk pickup are on par with those of Texas and nationwide communities. Curbside recycling lags a little behind. In terms of water pressure, as well as smell and taste of tap water, Shawnee ranks lower than those benchmarks that we look to. And satisfaction ratings across all code enforcement activities are less than half of Texas benchmarks and also significantly lower than nationwide benchmarks. So we did not fare well in terms of our own code enforcement ratings. To assist in the interpretation of the community survey results, those questions that asked for satisfaction with the particular service as well as importance to the responder provided some valuable insight, because only when you marry those two things up do you really get an idea of, is this important as well as not well done, which gives it a much higher priority, If it was not deemed important, it really doesn't matter as much what the satisfaction rating was, because it just does not matter that much to our citizens. So worst case scenario is a high number of 1.0, where everybody deems this to be super important, and there's a 0 satisfaction rating. Best case scenario is it is of low importance and everybody is super happy. So the values that you see on the following slides can only vary between 0 and 1. The closer we get to 1, the more important it will be for the city to do something different and to do something more. In the comparison of major categories of city core services against one another, street and sidewalk maintenance, traffic congestion, improved water and sewer service quality, and code enforcement are singled out as the highest priorities with the lowest satisfaction ratings. What citizens tell the city with their responses is that services, and particularly the maintenance activities for roadways, should receive increased attention and investment priority over the next coming years. Looking specifically at police services, crime prevention is called out as the highest priority for additional effort and investment, and the need for improved crime prevention is closely followed by the citizens' emphasis on quality of animal control and visibility of police in neighborhoods. Looking at parks and recreation programs and activities, the quality of park facilities and the number of walking and biking trails are specifically called out as high priority investment opportunities. Returning to streets and traffic, whose activities we already know are called out as a high priority, it is again the condition of roadways that citizens tell the city needs to be addressed. Here the condition of major streets receives the highest importance and lowest satisfaction rating comparison, closely followed by the condition of the neighborhood streets and the quality of roadway repairs. And the last of the important satisfaction rating tables, with an even higher rating here of 0.48%, almost half, we return to code enforcement. Shawnee citizens say that increased attention and effort should be expended on the removal of dilapidated structures and the enforcement of junk and debris cleanup, mowing and weed cutting, and exterior maintenance on private property. There are some additional significant findings that are particularly important for the longer-term strategic planning effort that the city is undertaking at this time. This is a slightly different set of questions that did not neatly fit underneath core services or departments, and I wanted to share these results with you as well. We specifically asked across 16 different areas that the city is currently working on what of these are the most important to city residents. And as you can imagine, reduce homelessness is there at the very top, immediately followed by maintaining and improving the water system, addressing the roadway infrastructure, and then also addressing and managing traffic flow. Another question we asked, because we really wanted to understand how we can better inform the public and get information out into their hands as quickly as possible. What medium are they using to get their information on the city? The feedback was extremely valuable because the community survey responses indicate that 62% of the households that were surveyed currently rely on Facebook to get city information and city data. We will accordingly have to put additional resources into our social media presence to be able to help with that information flow. It is also interesting to learn that 2/3 of the households have visited a park or recreational facility in the last year. And of those who indicated that they had visited one of those facilities, 70% were either neutral, satisfied, or very satisfied with both the availability, quality, maintenance of various parks, amenities, quality of facilities, and programs. Two exceptions to this trend are the number of walking and biking trails, and I know that we had mentioned those earlier. Also singled out was the quality of camping at the Shawnee Twin Lakes. Speaking of the Shawnee Twin Lakes, half of all households surveyed visited the Shawnee Twin Lakes last year. With the understanding that alternatives to privately owned automobiles have been a point of discussion for some time in the city, within the city, by our citizens, this particular question and the following question specifically asked Shawnee residents whether they would use fixed route, fixed schedule public transit, or a demand response service similar to the one that is already in place, where COTS and CPN run pre-arranged curb-to-curb service. About 60% of the households stated that they would support these two transportational alternatives. And 40% of the respondents also indicated that they would use public transit if it was available. When asked whether the household had visited the Shawnee Public Library in the past year, almost 60% of the respondents stated that they had not. Of the 42% that had, 73% are satisfied or very satisfied with the facility appearance, and only 26% are dissatisfied with the library's location. And circling back to the earlier summary I already showed, the main takeaways here are that a significant proportion of the citizens think the city of Shawnee has an average good or excellent reputation for living. 3/4 of the households have no major concerns with the quality of life. Generally, a significant number of public safety services in Shawnee rank higher than nation and Texas communities. And the citizens specifically asked that the city address water and sewer, condition of roadways, traffic congestion, enforcement of local codes, improvement of the overall community appearance, all of which are our city core services. The requested mitigation of homelessness does not immediately fall within the city core services. I know that we do have a program, but it is not a city core service. And city staff will continue to look to community nonprofits and partners and volunteers, as well as additional state and federal resources in order to be able to address this particular issue. As pointed out during the earlier discussion of the community survey's purpose, all of these findings will be rolled into the strategic plan. Of course, the City Commission had their strategic visioning retreat just last month, and I know it seems like a lifetime ago, but this community survey, all of the great work that the city commissioners had done during the visioning retreat, and then of course the technical feasibility assessment by the various departments involved in some of these activities that are proposed, all of that will be joined together and work in hand to put together our new strategic plan. With that said, I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? Good presentation of that study. Thank you very much. Anybody got anything before she goes? Okay, thank you. We have one more report, and that is on the April 19th tornado recovery, and Rochelle's going to come up and do that.
Mr. Mayor,
How are you, ma'am?
I'm tired.
I understand.
I haven't had a day off yet, so I have a brief slideshow here for the severe weather and tornado outbreak of April 19th, 2023. Down.
There we go.
A few of the topics I'm going to be touching on is the timeline of the tornado event, the initial disaster response, our transition into the recovery, and some available resources. So the timeline of the event, sorry, I don't have my slides with me. At 4:50, our City of Shawnee alerting system, Smart 911 app, alerted the citizens of a tornado watch. At 8:47 p.m., the Cleveland County EF2 tornado entered Potawatomi County. At 9:04, the pink tornado ramps up to an EF3. At 9:13, our outdoor warning sirens began sounding, alerting citizens. At 9:21, the Bethel Acres EF1 tornado occurred, and then 9:39, the Shawnee EF2 tornado began its track. And right there on the map, everyone knows the path and went straight up Kickapoo. Here's a few pictures. I have over 600 drone photos. I didn't think we'd have time for all those, but the picture on the left is the townhome condos at Kickapoo and 39th. The top right is Colonial States and the YMCA area, and the bottom right is our airport. OG&E. There's some of our damage that didn't comparison. Everyone knows, everyone's seen it, but in OG&E brought in 1,000 utility trucks. They had 2,800 linemen from all over the United States come to our area to assist. They replaced 800 poles, 350 damaged transformers replaced, 23,000 customers were affected, and 48 miles of overhead wire replaced. In the initial disaster response, we met up at Fire Lake Arena and we had a multi-agency incident command. We did multi because it involved county, tribal, and city. We got together and we started figuring out what to do. We realized 911 dispatch was overloaded, both the centers, the city and central dispatch was overloaded. Their CADs crashed. There's too many calls to keep up with. All the city department heads and utility partners went to work automatically. Oklahoma Task Force 1, OHP out of OKC was requested, and they started with the initial search and rescue assistance. The primary and secondary search of the damage, the initial damage path that the National Weather Service gave us that night, they went and searched that. And they did 2 passes, the initial and then the secondary, within 10 hours, and that was amazing. Our disaster declarations. City of Shawnee was declared on April 20th. Thank you. The state of Oklahoma was declared on April 20th, and the presidential declaration was on the 24th. We hosted the special city commission meeting on the 27th to help fund the immediate storm budget shortfall, debris removal, and debris monitoring. I very much appreciate that. Now we transition into recovery. Transitioning into recovery, we got our debris collection set up. The site on the 28th. Vegetative debris began on the 29th. We set up a citizen drop-off vegetative debris at Public Works on May 3rd. And then C&D debris pickup started on May 7th. Additional resources that occurred during this response was our pod setup. We had a pod setup at Life Church from April 20th through the 28th. And then another pod with community renewal at OBU Green Campus. FEMA has opened up the Disaster Recovery Center, the DRC, and that's at South Central Industries at 130 North Louisa, and it is still open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, and they'll be open until there's no longer a need for them. The Multi-Agency Resource Center, that was a 2-day event that happened out at the OBU Green Campus. That was May 5th and 6th. They went to other communities and only did 1 day, and we requested 2 days because of the amount of residents that was affected here. Here's additional ShawneeRecovery.com. It's a website dedicated. It's being built as a one-stop shop for disaster recovery resources for households and businesses. There's new information being added daily, so please visit that website if you have any questions, concerns. And we are Shawnee Strong. I thank you. Also, I know I'm getting a lot of questions, and Mayor maybe get a lot of commissioners maybe get a lot of questions about tree trimming and what's going on. Why are they doing this? Why are they not? Yep. I do have our debris removal contractor here if you'd like to clear up and help explain what's being cut, how it's being cut, and why it's being cut.
Sounds good. You guys like to hear that real fast? Because I know I've been getting quite a few questions. How are you, sir?
Good evening. I'm Matthew Stewart with DRC. And I want to take a brief moment to thank the city for the confidence in DRC to aid in the disaster recovery efforts in Shawnee. To date, just real quick, we have removed 147,600 cubic yards of debris being vegetative A and C and D as of 7 p.m. this evening, and 660 hazardous limbs and or trees as of 7 o'clock this evening as well. Did we just go through the process with the hazardous trees, or would y'all any specific questions?
The questions that I've been getting specifically are someone will say, a truck rolls up to my house and I've got a tree that appears to be healthy, and they take it down, and in their opinion it didn't need to come down, but of course they're probably not a tree expert either. I know I'm certainly not.
Right.
And so the tree gets taken down very, very quickly, and they're just curious how those decisions are made and what the process is.
FEMA says a tree with a canopy of 50% or more damage would need to be removed. All hazardous limbs in the right-of-way, not necessarily hanging over private property, but in the public right-of-way, 2 inches or greater are a hazard to human life, so they are removed. A tree leaning 30% or more, or has a 50% broken root ball, would be removed, as it is a hazard to falling in the city right away, whether it be sidewalk, parks, city properties. All those are eligible for removal.
Sure.
That was a question that I got this weekend. We're doing a information event at Lowe's, and I had a very nice lady come ask me that question about a tree that is currently still standing, but it's just barely hanging on, and didn't, was informed that the local guys coming through with the chainsaw crews were not able to fell that tree. And so how would she make sure that I know that FEMA's not gone to every backyard to see every tree. How would she get on that list to make sure that doesn't fall on her house and take out her electrical lines?
So is that on private property or in a right of way?
It is on private property.
So
yes.
Private property is not anything that we are currently
Okay.
responsible for.
Okay.
I know there are some of the Baptist volunteer groups going around that maybe to assist her, but as far as we're not allowed to go on private property.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, sir. Okay. That gets us to item 22, which is new business.
No new business.
Okey-doke. We'll do commissioner comments. Item 23, we'll start. Lauren, do you want to start down your end?
Sure. I know we're probably all going to say it, but I'm really thankful for the countless hours and the resources that so many people have dedicated to the aftermath of the tornado last month. And I know many are going to agree with me. It's still incredibly hard to see the affected areas each day. I see it every day when I leave for work and every day when I come home. But I know that it makes it better in my mind and in my heart knowing that every hand and every resource is on deck to recover and rebuild our city. And I'm already seeing a ton of progress. I get behind one of those black trucks, it seems like every morning and every afternoon, and I'm happy to watch it because I know that it's part of the healing process. I've had a lot of people, throughout my time at this seat so far, but really concentrated into last month, reach out to me and ask for help or have questions about what to do. And I want to thank those people who have had the confidence in me to ask me those questions and to approach me, because I am still a new commissioner and I'm a full-time mom and a full-time teacher, and just having people still believe that they can come up to me and ask me for any kind of help. Anytime that I can meet with anybody, people have even been gracious enough to let me bring my kids. To the last few times I've met up with people on their property or at coffee or something like that. So I appreciate that, because it's reassuring to me that people believe in me. This is the last meeting, if I see the calendar correctly, that we'll have before the June 13th election. So there's 7 propositions that everybody gets to say, and each one will be listed separately, so you can vote for or against whatever you want. And I hope there's a great turnout, and that people feel like their voice was heard in that case, and that their vote counted for what they wanted in this city. And that's kind of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Your turn, Mark.
She touched the same thing. No, it's pretty amazing how quick the city stepped in, cleared paths on the streets. OG&E, just relatively amazing. Had a lineman come in. They had told me a week ago that they had replaced 800 poles. It's hard to believe how quick and how efficient they were, and how they coordinated with so many different entities to make that happen. And the same thing with the city. The debris removal, which me and Darren are on Harrison Street, and it's every 15 minutes there's a truck goes by. And as you drive around town, just day to day, it's pretty amazing the progress they've made. And hopefully everybody, all the volunteers that have volunteered, and we're 30 days in, or about 30 days in, and hopefully everybody kind of stay, because we're still a long ways away from getting back to normal. But it's been a pretty amazing to see how people have stepped up to help other people. Kind of puts your faith back in people again. Mm-hmm. Sales tax still trending pretty good. It'll be interesting to see, if we have a hiccup a little bit for a month or two from the tornado. We know we'll get, tons of sales tax off of replacement of damaged stuff. So, long term, I think it'll be a plus to the city's economy anyway. That's pretty well everything I got.
Thank you, sir.
You hit all my key words right there.
There you go.
First one is coordinated efforts. It was amazing to see everyone working together, starting with emergency management. You were on the scene before it happened, and then coordinated everything after. So emergency management, staff, police, fire, react, everyone, all the things that happened. It was just amazing to see how that went. The volunteers in our community have been
unreal.
Something to see.
Yeah.
So, it's been great. OG&E, that's amazing to watch. Sad we had to learn it, but I've heard people in the past, why are they leaving? And we're sending all these trucks off somewhere. We're footing the bill for that.
Yep.
Now we know. This is why. So, thanks to OG&E.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, goodness. Just to echo Commissioner Richter, the propositions are there, and we're hoping that everybody turns out and votes and uses this opportunity to speak their minds and speak their hearts. And that I'm thankful that it's not just a yes or no, that it is each individual proposition has its own ability. You have your ability to vote yes or no for each one of those, and that's something that I hope that our citizens take the time to look at and study and understand, and truly know why they're voting. We have some good things on there that can really, as many of our citizens have stated recently, give them some reassurances that they feel like their voice really counts. And I hope that people use that opportunity to cast their votes in that. Goodness. is wild. You think about the things after in the immediate after the tornado, and the things that we're able to do whenever we have the opportunity presented to us. And I think the day after the tornado, I think I ran a chainsaw for 14 hours straight. Ended up going through 3 chains and melted a bar, and only quit because I eventually ran out of gas and oil and couldn't go any longer. And I think that was just, and I'm not trying to be like, talking about myself in a being bragging, but because there were hundreds and hundreds of people doing the same thing, clearing streets, cutting down limbs, checking on people. The number of folks that I saw that where we would get a call and say something was happening, and before we could get across town to check on them, there were 5 other people there in their front yard making sure they were okay. And it was one of the things that sometimes the world gets full of silly things that get bigger than they should. And I hate it that it takes moments like this to find what's really important. And what's really important is our neighbors, and what's really important is the person sitting next to you and the person standing across from you. And I cannot thank our emergency management team enough, and our PD and fire and OG&E. Y'all know that they did that and their yard got hit. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the fact that they were able to help us and had lost most of their vehicles and a lot of their equipment. But yet they figured out how to find other trucks and figured out how to get things here so that they could continue to do their job. And that's just absolutely amazing. And talk about people putting others first. They definitely put others in front of their own needs. And I think that so many of us have done that, and it's been absolutely amazing. Oh, gosh. I'm thankful for the people that I get to serve with. I'm thankful for the community that I get to serve, and I'm thankful for its people. And I would be very remiss if I did not thank OBU for, without hesitation, giving us the green campus to use as a resource center. And that was something that served so many families and gave them an opportunity to find hope and to find something that could say tomorrow's going to be better than today was. And I think that that's something that was huge, and very thankful for that partnership in our city. And I guess that's about it. So,
thank you, sir.
To echo a lot of the things that have been said, I can't express how thankful I am to our city staff. I say that at every meeting, and it sounds kind of cliche, but it's because they're doing such an incredible job. Not every town is like this. And to see how swiftly they came into action when they just had gone through the same thing as the rest of all the community was honestly incredible. I couldn't believe how quickly the governor was here, our congressman, or everyone who represented us was here. The orders were signed in such a swift manner. It was amazing. I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life. I didn't grow up in Shawnee, but I grew up like 50 miles south of here in Sulphur. And that was the first time I've ever been scared, ever, during a tornado. And definitely changed me. I think it changed the community. I'm so grateful we didn't have any deaths in Shawnee. So I think in the long run, hopefully the changes that we see out of this will be more community building. And since I've even thought about being in this seat, I've had this thought in the back of my mind, like, oh my gosh, just think what we could accomplish if all of our community partners worked together on something. I hate that it took a disaster to see that click into action, but it is so powerful to think about what we can accomplish as a community when we're all working together, every community partner, every neighbor. It's incredible. So I was very humbled by that. I was still in the basement, and Emily from OG&E texted me to ask if I was okay and told me that people were on their way right then. And that's incredible. I just can't get over how much our community partners truly care about this place. There were a few comments I wanted to address really quickly. Maybe in the past the budget wasn't as available in different formats. I know that through I appreciate the presentation about the survey because it provided us some very great information, and I see efforts being taken in some of the areas that we scored less than desirably in or poorly. But this proposed budget that I have up here is also on the city website, and it's in, I'm not a CPA, and it can be confusing. It's in plain English, and we know where everything is. And when we, and there are very strict rules around what we can and can't do with the money. We set out, our proposed budget, we approve it, we go through the hearing. You can look at this online. When there is, in every month, Lindsay does a budget review breakdown, and those are very informative, and you can see those on the city website. Then when there is a change, we do a budget amendment. We put it on the agenda, we discuss what it is, we vote for or against it. So there's quite a bit of transparency in where the money goes, and I think we have an excellent staff who does a great job at that and educating us, because it can be confusing. So I'm glad to see that information's coming to the public in various ways and in more plain language that's easy to digest. I think more than ever, please remember to shop locally and support. So many businesses are still closed. If you can, please purchase all of your goods and services in town whenever possible, so we can help get those people back, maintain those jobs, get the sales tax, support those businesses as they reopen.
I think over the last month, since April 19th, I've been so proud of our community, and really I think it's demonstrated why I love living here, why I want my kids to live here, and it's because of the quality of the people, the resiliency of the community. I'll probably the rest of my life never forget that first night after we came out of the shelter, and checking on all of our teams and families and people you care about, and then hitting the streets, and so many people not out to sightsee but out to ask, how can we help? The streets were filled with neighbors helping neighbors. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the people. We can sometimes live in a bubble and forget that the vast majority of this community is filled with neighbors caring for one another, looking out for one another. And I've been in my share of tabletop drills for emergencies, and I think people don't realize, as Commissioner Flood brought up, this was the drill you don't want to do, where your city's hit, but also your ability to respond is impacted. And to see our entire staff, I can't remember who it was telling me about seeing staff run out of their house and to their cars to respond. That's the kind of team we have. And as Commissioner Engel said, that's why we brag on them every month and tell them we appreciate them, because they may not have known if all theirs were okay, but they ran to ours. And so Rochelle, all your team, Public Works, every employee from top to bottom, our gratitude goes out. Of course, all of the first responders, all of our friends at OBU who took such a hard hit and but have been so resilient, and OG&E, who was on the ground in minutes, and Ms. Tate was giving us hourly updates on here's where we are, here's what's happening. I think they were realistic with their assessment of what they thought it would take, and then they beat their assessment in getting power restored to everyone that could accept it as quickly as possible. And then not only did they do their work, but they were also generous. I think it's they should be noted. When the linemen left town, they donated all their food to people that had lost all their groceries. And so, that's what I think community's made of. I was actually having lunch this weekend with a young man from North Carolina that's been here since about the time the storm hit, just trying to help people. And he said, we're here to help, but it's amazing how many of the neighbors are just out doing the work. And so I think that's what makes this community special, is the people that care about one another. And so hopefully that we clean up and we restore a lot of stuff, but our care for one another is something that doesn't leave, and we continue to treat one another as we want to be treated, and continue to work toward a better community. But just so thankful to so many. As you heard in the presentations, there are resources available and continue to be available. So please help everyone make use of those that are available, and we'll keep working toward it.
Thank you, sir. You guys covered a lot of good things, so I'm not going to add a whole lot. Just again, thank you everybody that's been involved in this from the first minute when it happened, even before, to the present. But things jumped into action so quickly. It was hard to believe. It really was, and we made a lot of good progress. I think. Just as soon as it happened, neighbors helping neighbors, and all of our folks, the emergency management folks, our police, the fire department, everybody jumping into action. It was just hard to believe how quickly that happened. I know that, I've always believed that Shawnee's a great town and a lot of great people out here, and we definitely, proved that, when we had this disaster happen. I mean, people jumped right on it and really took really good care of each other, and continue to do that. This is going to be a long progress. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint, that's for sure. But we're going to get through it. I mean, we're doing the right things. We're meeting with other cities that have been through this to learn what they've learned. The things that they did right, and they're going to tell us the things they did wrong too, so that hopefully we don't make those same mistakes. But everybody has been just amazingly helpful and kind. The day after the storm, I mean, as soon as it happened, my phone just started blowing up, and it wasn't people looking for help, it was people offering help. And that just confirms what we already knew about our community, and that's that we live in here with a bunch of great folks. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. So I know we had quite a few questions at the beginning of the meeting, and for the most part, those were all answered during the meeting. So it's a shame that we ask them and then we don't stick around to hear them. I wish folks had stuck around for all the answers. You guys are going to kill me, but we're going to adjourn, and then I'm going to take about a 2-minute break because we have been here a long time, as long as this old man can sit here. So let's do that, and we'll knock the other stuff out real fast. Thank you so much. All righty. We ready?
Okay, fine.
Everybody get in? Daniel, you get in the next meeting?
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, cool. I think we're good. All righty, so we will go to the Shawnee Airport Authority. Item 1, consider approval of consent agenda. Anyone want to take anything out, or we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Boy, that was fast. Cammie, I think you were in a little under the wire there. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. And it worked. Okay. And motion passes 7-0. Item 2, public hearing for the Shawnee Airport Authority proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Lindsay, it's your turn again.
Good evening again. So part of your proposed budget includes the airport authority. It's towards the back of the book. The only significant change to that, I think we added a capital project part of the CIP plan. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the airport authority budget.
Any questions? Looks good. Anyone have a motion?
We gotta open it for public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now we got.
Public hearing, yeah.
Yep, we'll open the public hearing. So, anyone would like to speak in regards to the budget for the airport authority? Seeing none, then we will, any more discussion up here, we'll close the hearing. Okay. Item 3, new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. So we're adjourned. We'll go to the municipal authority. Item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda.
Mayor, could you give me just a few?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Give you as long as you need. Just let us know. Because I got to sign out of here too.
You all should be able to join that meeting.
Oh. Okay, I think I'm in.
Yeah.
Everybody good? Everybody in and good? I think everybody's shaking their heads.
6 present?
Who's missing?
No, all 7 now.
All 7, cool. All righty, so item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call that question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 2 is a public hearing for the Shawnee Municipal Authority proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Lindsay, one more time.
So again, the Shawnee Municipal Authority is part of the proposed budget before you today. There is, I presented last commission meeting that there are 3 new funds in the municipal authority for your approval, which will be in June. The wastewater capital improvement fund, a water capital improvement fund, and a meter maintenance fund, to separate those out from the main authority, which is fund, which is going to be strictly for operating of the whole authority. So, any questions with that?
Okay. Any questions? No? Very good. So we will open the public hearing on the municipal authority. Is there anyone that would like to speak in regard to it? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any other discussion up here? Oh, Very good. Item 3 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Guess what? Item 4 is adjournment. We will go home. Thank you, everybody, for all you've done. Thank you for coming tonight.